and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io, your startup podcast and YouTube blog from Germany, looking a little bit sweaty because we are recording this at the end of June 2022, and it's actually getting really hot right now in Germany, and we German guys are not used to it. That's a totally different story for David, my guest today. Hey David.
Hi Joe. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I remember in Madrid, it gets really hot, right?
That's right. Yeah, you're right. So this is actually not so difficult for me, fortunately. But I've been living in Germany for a long time now. This is my sixth year now. So I think I'm not getting used to it.
And today you are our interview guest because you're running Kenjo, which we will get to later. And Kenjo, you said is the number one challenger of Personio, which is already a unicorn here in Germany. Is that approximately right?
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
Wonderful. So now we have set the stage. Let us take a little dive into what are you doing. So basically, we realized we've been both in Madrid 2004 during the train bombings, but at this time we didn't know each other. But you've been growing up there. And can you tell us a little bit what you've been doing before? Because I've seen you've been a Java coder. Can you tell us a coder joke?
Yes, absolutely. At the beginning of my career, I have a technical background. I actually studied in Scotland for 2 years, then went back to Spain and did IT consulting for a few years before I started in my entrepreneurial journey. And developer joke. It's been a long time since I don't code, and I'm not so involved into coding anymore. And so I guess I'll use a classic one. The classic joke of it's not a bug, it's a feature. Whenever someone complains about the product because they don't know how to use it, and I think it's also one of those jokes that brings a lot of joy to developers, because they're like, hey, I did this the way it was supposed to, at least the way I was told I should do it, and it's there now. If it doesn't work as expected, I've done my job.
Yeah, the usual thing, the problem is in front of the screen, right? I have seen you have started as a Salesforce developer in lovely Zurich for Mein Deal AG. I think that's where your entrepreneurial journey really started. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing there and how you moved up to head of operations there?
Absolutely, yes. And so after a few years in Spain working in IT consulting, and where I mainly was working in cloud computing and Salesforce, and the Salesforce ecosystem, and that connects why then later I think we'll get there, why I eventually founded a company in the Salesforce partner basically. But going back then, in 2011, I was in Spain working in as I said in IT consulting, and for already back then for a couple of years I had felt this inner, let's say, urge to understand startups and to basically to go work for a startup to understand what are these companies that are growing so fast these days. Back then, 2010, 2011, the startup scene in Spain was non-existent. There were like literally 2 companies that were relatively famous, so very small ecosystem. And I started looking for a job to join a fast-growing startup. Always thought I would end up in London, but then I got a call from a crazy guy. His name is Julian Taike. Maybe I can tell a bit more about him later because he's the CEO from WeFox, the InsurTech, also unicorn, and he's one of my angels and investors. And but he was one of the founders of that company, Time Deal in Zurich. Gave me a call, and 11 days later, I landed in Zurich and I started working for them. I landed in the right place at the right time. Company was growing super quickly, and I wanted to also understand the business side of things. I already had been working in tech for a few years, but I wanted to understand from a business perspective everything as much as I could, operations. And that's how I transitioned internally in the company to an operations role, basically. In the beginning was helping the sales guys to sell more efficiently. And then eventually I ended up leading the entire operations. And just to give you an idea, so you have you can, let's say, paint a picture of the madness that was going inside the company at the time. We went from around 8 million in revenue to 100 million in 3.5 years. So it was total madness, chaos, and I loved it. So that's why, even though I think I've never worked as hard, to be honest. But it was a great challenge. It was a great opportunity to grow. And even though I was not a founder, for me, that's the start of my entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm. I think we have a quote to promote this interview. Dein Deal AG. It was total chaos. It was total madness, and I loved it. But at one point, it looks like end of 2015. You jumped ship at Dein Deal AG and basically co-founded a company in Berlin. I would pronounce Empower, and you pronounce
Empower.
Empower. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit what you're doing there? Because my understanding is you're still a co-founder, you still own equity, but you're not operationally involved in it anymore, right?
Correct. That's right. Yes. So I will tell you also a little bit of the story, how I got there. And in 2015, the Dein Deal was acquired by a media group from Switzerland called Rainier, and the founders transitioned, left the company, and I also thought, what's next for myself? What do I want to do? What do I want to do for the next stage of my life and my career? And then I asked myself, what do I know? What can I do well? And two things came to mind. One of them was my Salesforce background, and I had been working with the technology to help scale other companies, and in particular Dein Deal. And I knew how to run the operations of a fast growing business. Mm-hmm. Then that's why I then together with Julian Taike, the CEO from WeFox, he's also my partner, I'm a co-founder at Empower as well, and other people. We came to Germany, to Berlin, and said, okay, we're going to build the first European Salesforce partner for VC-backed startups, because what we know how to do well is scale companies and Salesforce technology, and we know Salesforce can help startups grow very well, very fast. It's from a technology perspective, something very agile that you can adjust very quickly as the company grows. So we put these two things together and built, basically co-founded Empower in 2015.
Mm-hmm. And you're Europe's only Salesforce for startups partner, right?
Yes, correct.
Can you tell us, like, the people, for me and a few thousand people will listen to this interview and most of them will have a clue what Salesforce is, but can you do a little mansplaining for guys like me what Salesforce actually is and what you did? Because I personally don't have a clue.
Yes, absolutely. Because Salesforce, I would say it used to be a CRM, customer relationship management system, to manage the relationships with your customers. In the beginning, very, very, very much focused on sales. And then over time, it has grown to become a full customer experience platform where you can market and generate demand for your business, or market your product and your services, then organize sales, and now also customer service and support, all in one platform. And in my opinion, for the enterprise, it has the most powerful underlying technology that gives companies the agility that they need to change processes and to adapt as they scale.
Mm-hmm. 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 I see. But at one point, you then decided to really go out for yourself and co-founded another company, and that is the InsurTech Kenjo.io we'll be talking about today, right?
Yes, exactly. And so what happened was, since there's another story that intertwines with my whole personal story. And at some point in Switzerland in 2013, 14, I became a manager for the first time, and I realized how much I actually liked the whole topic of people management and helping people be their best at work and creating opportunities at work where they could play to their strengths, making people work better together from soft skills, but also hard skills. And that was my kind of first connection with HR. And then I put all of that in practice when I founded Empower, when I founded my first company. Just to give you an idea, we implemented Holacracy. Holacracy is like a new radical way to manage companies without bosses, with full transparency. Yeah, very niche. Not a lot of people know about this system, and but it was for us. It wasn't our attempt to try out new things around people management, and because we were passionate about it, because we liked it, and we wanted to find out how we could create the most engaging workplace possible. So it was also for me a time to experiment with people management. And at the same time, I was doing a lot of recruitment, growing my company, performance management, admin stuff as well. And eventually I realized that there was an opportunity from an impact perspective and from a, let's say, financial perspective, a market for a company like Kenjo. And Kenjo, it's an all-in-one HR platform that helps companies do now three things mainly. What we call core HR. So it's the system of record for all the employee data, where you can store all the employee information, have your workflows, automate processes like onboarding, holiday planning, etc. Recruitment, so hire new people, organize the recruitment process, and performance management as well. These three things, we put this into one platform for small and medium companies across Europe, and now also we are active in Latin America as well. And I think that's how things connect. How I came to the conclusion that Kenjo made sense, because on one side, it gives us an opportunity to have an impact on companies, help companies manage their people better, but at the same time, we know that most of the SMBs across Europe and actually worldwide don't leverage yet HR technology. So that's a good opportunity for a business that makes sense also from a financial perspective.
I vividly remember from all the companies I've been to, I've been an employee of, or I work for in one capacity or another. HR is usually a zillion different systems. And actually at some of the companies I was working for, I always had to search in the internet, in old emails, what is the current tool we're using for this and that, or for this and that, because it's like spread all over. And then you realize, oh, dang it, that was the old system. I'm supposed to do that in a new system. And plus you always had this very informal stuff. So basically a team in a project does its vacation planning. Maybe they're not even members of your team. And then you have to go into the system of your company and officially do the vacation stuff and all of this. That is quite tiring. And basically what you do is do this for one company. But my understanding is you're not necessarily targeting the Mercs, the BMW, the Mercedes, like the really big companies. What is your target size here in terms of employees of this company?
Yes. And we target small and medium companies and up to maximum 1,000 employees. But really, let's say the sweet spot is up to 500 in this range. That's where a platform like Kenjo makes more sense. Yeah.
That already sounds like there is a lot of potential customers out here in Germany. Globally, there should be like millions of companies like this out there. Before we get a little bit into that, I was curious because I have also seen shift planning in there. In the past, I was in the paramedic ambulance, and it was always troublesome how this was how this planning was done back. There was like before 2000, and the person in charge did it with an Excel sheet stored on a floppy disk. Can you do this now automatically? Like press a button, you have all the people in there and all the holidays, everything is in there. Can you do that?
That's exactly it. Yes, correct. So that's what you can do. Yes. So shift planning is a tool for shift managers, operations managers, and one of the functionalities is that once you have your people there, their availability with one click, it creates smart rotas for people, and then it also sends out via mobile confirmations. People can basically choose or accept shifts, upcoming shifts. So it really eases the pain of coordinating lots of people. Like what we've typically seen here is Excel files on one side for the operations manager, and then a lot of WhatsApp. So basically asking people in WhatsApp, hey, can you do this shift then? Can you do this? Now it's much easier. And so if you're an operations manager, shift manager, yeah, it's going to give you some hours of your life back.
From my personal experience, what would also be cool if people could start exchanging shifts, if that all works within the frame
Correct.
given by the company or legal frame. That would be awesome. Can they also do this, and do they need WhatsApp for it?
Exactly. We're working on this actually. Yeah, shift swapping, we call it, and it's giving people the opportunity to exchange shifts basically. So you say, oh, I would like to take off Friday afternoon to do whatever. Does someone want to take my shift? And I will do another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. One more thing about the shift planning, because just personally curious about that, and then we go on. You've been saying like on a mobile app you can take shifts, so it's also for companies who have like a lot of part-time employees, just showing up for 10-15 hours a week or something like this, and basically you can send out messages to all those people on their cell phone, and they can accept shifts, and basically then you only have to take care of everything that is not accepted yet. Is that true?
That's correct. Exactly. Yeah. That's one of the main use cases when you have a lot of part-time people, part-time employees in the company, and then you can send through the app a request for them, and then they can accept, reject, or send comments back to the operations manager. So yeah, you got that absolutely right.
Even without WhatsApp.
Even without WhatsApp, that's the idea.
That sounds pretty good. And what type of industries are you targeting? Because my understanding is if you have industries with shift, like in production, like in medicine, and a lot of other areas that actually need more than one shift, that should be a sweet spot, because apparently it will take a lot of work from those operational managers.
Correct. And some of the industries where our product has, let's say, creates has more impact are industries like retail, manufacturing, etc. That they are very intensive when it comes to time management and shift management as well. But I have to say there are other industries like, for example, business services. They might not have as complex requirements, but they also work sometimes in shift because they maybe have an IT support team that has to stay up at night, and they have to turn take basically shifts to be 24/7 on duty. So it's not only exclusively to, let's say, to tailor to retail or manufacturing or one specific industry, but it's more about the companies that need managing shifts.
Is there like industries you completely target, or you basically say it mostly with a little bit customizing, with a little bit adjustment, it works for like all industries?
We're quite agnostic when it comes to industry, so we have customers from all industries, but it's true that there are 5-6 industries where we see our product is usually the best choice for customers. These are these industries that I mentioned before, industries like retail, manufacturing, also healthcare, education. Yeah, that's where we see, among other things, because of what you mentioned, the fact that shift planning, it's an important part of the tool. It's something that we do very well, and these companies typically have strong needs or demands pains when it comes to time management. So those are industries that for which our product work quite well.
What also came to mind when you've been talking about this would be restaurants, but then I'm not sure if they're big enough, if the requirements are big enough. For most restaurants, a WhatsApp group will do.
Correct. If they go beyond a certain threshold in terms of number of employees, then yes. And we have one of our customers is Domino's in Germany, their German branch. And for a company like Domino's makes sense because they have people that could work in different
Functions.
Yeah, exactly. And pizza shops at the same time. They also some of their restaurants are quite big actually. The way they employ a significant amount of people. So for them, it works quite well. If you're a company like a small restaurant with only 6-7 people, you probably can do with a WhatsApp group.
We've been talking about more the blue collar jobs, but actually I've seen you also say that you can be faster with HR, meaning onboarding of people, getting new hires done. How
Yes.
does your software support there? Because like most of the listeners right now, as of last week, 94 countries across the world would be more interested in how you guys could help there, what you could do there, because I would say, I do believe if you're faster in HR and getting out offers and getting people onboarded faster, you have a competitive advantage, right?
Correct. Absolutely. What we do is on one side, we help companies with their building a career page that resembles their values, their company values. So they also attract the right people. If you think about it, a career site is very similar to your website for clients, for your customers, but for people. And at the same time, it's kind of the same. You're selling your company to people to work for you, basically. And so we help them build career sites that helps companies attract the right people for them. And that's something you can do in Kenjo. And then this career site, then within Kenjo, you can create job offers and post them in multiple job boards, paid and free, both. So you can maximize your reach to, let's say, hunt like a very wide net of candidates. And then we also help them digitize and orchestrate the hiring process internally. So for example, people apply through the career site, and then you can communicate internally with the hiring manager, with other people that are maybe involved in the hiring process. You can communicate through Kenjo with the candidate, send automatic emails, reminders, and then also sign the work contract or job offer electronically as well from Kenjo. So eventually you speed up significantly your recruiting process. And in today's market that is very competitive when it comes to hiring the best talent, it's definitely an advantage towards other companies that might use more, let's say, rudimentary tools.
That is also something I was thinking this could be help you win talent. Can it also help you a little bit keep talent? But I have to add one caveat, because you can post the job all over, but it does not recruit you the development talent you need right now. That's something you still have to do yourself, right?
Yes, absolutely. There are certain positions, tech is one of them, where you have to actually go out. And for this, Kenjo can also help, by the way, because we have a browser extension. So when you are in Chrome, looking on LinkedIn, for example, looking for people, you can capture their profiles and put them into Kenjo, and then send them personalized messages out of Kenjo. So you can also build what we call talent pools. Even when you're not looking actively, you can still build talent pools to engage with candidates over time, so that they know your company, and they're they have you top of mind for when you open a position, and then you can target them.
What other positions are right now pretty much in demand? We've been talking about development talent. I would assume
Yes.
sales. Sales should be also
Yes,
pretty much in demand.
that's the one.
What else?
Yes. Product as well. And I can say here that it varies a bit country by country. So we operate across Europe, Germany, but also Spain, Switzerland, Austria, and other countries. And we see some differences. But generally speaking, I would say developers, tech people, super difficult in all countries. Product managers, Germany, quite difficult to find product managers. And especially if you're looking for German-speaking product managers. I think it's easier to see a startup unicorn than a German-speaking product manager. That's more difficult. So we should start calling these people also unicorns. I think
Okay.
it's more difficult to find a German-speaking product manager in Germany. And then sales, yes, sales, and especially for specialized roles. Like for example, if you're looking in our case, we look for account executives and SDRs with experience in B2B SaaS sales. Very difficult. Very, very difficult.
I see. Everybody who'd like to learn more about your tools, they can go down here in the show notes. As always, your LinkedIn profile is linked, but the company profile is linked. That was, of course, not the end. Let's talk a little bit about the startup itself, because as you already said, Domino's is one of the customers you have on your website. I also found Jaguar, like the car producer. Yes. And Land Rover, but I do believe they belong together. And
yes,
I've also seen that investors are the co-founders of unicorn TaxFix and InsurTech WeFox. I think we already know the story. The WeFox founder has been a boss of yours, which is not necessarily the worst thing that can happen when you say, "Hey, look, he founded a unicorn. He was my boss, but he still invests in me." I think that's a pretty good sign, right?
I think so too. I want to believe it's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, and TaxFix, how did this connection come?
Yes, our seed round was led by Red Alpine. It's a venture capital fund out of Switzerland, and Red Alpine had previously invested in TaxFix at the seed stage. So actually, when TaxFix was a project, it was not yet a unicorn in sight, and that's how the connection came. They made an intro. I over time developed a good relationship with Matis Buchi, the founder and former CEO from TaxFix, and he's also one of our board members, by the way. And I realized over time, like first of all, we clicked on a personal level, and he has experience when it comes to acquisition and product that I don't have. And I thought it would be very valuable to have him on board. And so eventually that's how I think it just grew very, very natural. And that's how he became an investor and board member.
I've seen you raised in total more than $7 million, including seed and the business angel round. As you said, yes. Investors include the Delta and Red Alpine from Switzerland. The usual question, you guys would be open to talk to an investor, right?
Absolutely. Yes. We actually. Yes.
Are you currently in fundraising mode?
No, not currently in fundraising mode. We're always, founders are always in fundraising mode. and whoever tells you otherwise, they either they're lying or they haven't realized yet, but we're always in fundraising mode.
Let me rephrase this. You're not in extreme fundraising mode.
Exactly. We're not actively, the key word is active. We're not actively fundraising at the moment. And, but I think we are now at the point with Kenjo where, last year we grew our revenues by more than 300%, 330% actually. This year, even though we took it a bit cautious because of the situation in the economy, we're still going to more than double our revenue again this year. And I think we're hitting the right metrics to be to be able to fundraise successfully soon.
Series A. Yeah. Usually the magic threshold is 1 million US dollars. But when you guys are growing so fast, I was wondering, you guys are hiring as well, right?
We are.
Yeah.
We are. Yeah, pretty much across the board: marketing, sales, product, tech, etc.
As always, we'll link down here in the show notes your company HR career side. One of the last questions I would like to ask, because we said you're the number one competitor here domestically of Personio. How is it, like a very early stage startup in seed stage, competing with an already official unicorn? I think that's pretty much like Sisyphus trying to roll up this rock to the mountaintop. Does it feel like this sometimes?
No, I wouldn't say so. No, and I will tell you why. Like, first of all, when we look at the market, then let's say, starting this from a macro perspective, the market is huge. In Europe, only in Europe, there are 1.7 million SMBs. You mentioned before, there must be a couple million companies around the world, SMBs. It's only Europe. It's 1.7 million SMBs. That's our target market. Very, very big market. If you look at how many customers Personio has, it's less than 1% market share. So that means this is still the very, very, very early days of the market. And the market is now developing and maturing. And then there are different things that you can do as a younger startup that the more established player can't do anymore. Like, for example, you can build a different distribution strategy. In our case, we do a lot of what we call self-service, low-touch sales. That means companies go to Kenjo, they open a free trial, they create an account, and then they buy the product online themselves without us really getting involved. This is much more difficult for a company like Personio that has a much more direct sales, let's say, model or approach. And when you're a younger startup, it's easier to test, to take more risks. So I just mentioned one of the ways in which we compete in the market, but it's also the focus on a specific segment of the market that we were talking about before, where there are some industries where we are very powerful. And for example, for a company like Personio that is that big and serves certainly a very wide range of industries, it's much more difficult to be focused and on a specific segment of the market. So yeah, that's I would say those are just a couple of examples on how you can put up a fight against a more established player.
I was actually very much smiling when you've been talking. Well, the customers go on your website, use the tool, and then buy it. It sounded pretty much like all your sales employees are just chilling in the office, drinking an ice cold bourbon, like the cliche.
Yeah, no, they have to work hard as well, but it helps. This model helps a lot because oftentimes when we get a request for a demo, someone wants to have a look at the product, they have already bought, in their heads, because they went through the product with a free trial, they clicked everything, every button, and they saw themselves generating value for their companies with our product. So the sale it's easier, and it's not so much about pushing, but rather pulling and helping the customer onboard themselves into the platform and basically start realizing value as soon as possible.
So bottom line, I would say you guys have a more standardized, more easily explained, more easily implemented tool than, for example, Personio.
And that's also one of the things as well. Yes, there's all sorts of templates and set up or configured workflows that you can activate easily for your company. So the onboarding time is also very, very fast. Just to give you an idea, we've had companies of almost 100 people, 100 employees onboarded and up running with the platform in 8 working days.
Finally, and last question, you're also open to work with remote-only employees, right?
Yeah, we have some. Correct.
Great.
Yeah. Generally speaking, our policy is like hybrid, although very flexible when it comes to the office. But yeah, we have some remote talent as well in the company.
David, it was a pleasure talking to you. We're now recording for a little bit over 35 minutes, so I assume our interview is 10 minutes longer than on average. So thank you very much for your time. It was just a pleasure. And when you progress, I'm sure in some time we will have you back here in the podcast.
Thanks a lot, Joe. It was a pleasure to be here with you. And maybe next time when we become a unicorn, we can repeat
we
the
do an
interview.
exclusive.
So we're not anymore the challenger.
We do an exclusive. Promise?
I have to talk to my comms guy. He's the one.
Okay. It's almost a promise. More than 20,000 listeners are now
Almost.
witnesses. Awesome. Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.